Welcome to Blackbriar Gaming. In preparation for the new edition of Horus Heresy, Warhammer Community are going legion by legion, teasing us with the rule snippets from the upcoming release. Today, we'll be looking at the 19th Legion, the Raven Guard. Just a quick note before we get into it, a subscribe and a like really helps us reach a bigger audience. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit those buttons down below. Now, I've actually been listening to a bunch of Raven Guard audiobooks lately, and I've quite enjoyed them. They've got this wonderful darkness to them. I didn't think I was as big a fan of the Raven Guard as I would once I started listening to the audiobooks. So if you don't know much about the 19th, I suggest getting into those Corax audiobooks, and there's one in particular I got off Audible, which was a bit of a collection of a bunch of different stories, and was really cool. And the end of it is just, it's so chilling and so Corax. He's so emo, he's so grim, he's a lot of fun. So who are the Raven Guard? Well, originally, even before they linked up with their Primarch, they were known for their infiltration and stealth tactics. They were doing it during the Unification Wars. They were doing it in conjunction with Horus and his Lunar Wolves. So pretty cool. And I like that aspect to them. They've got this patience and pragmatism to them that is quite refreshing to read during the novels. It's not simply rushing in or making last stands. It's not all about honor or glory. They're there to do a job. They know their job. They know it's done in the shadows, and they're kind of okay with it. There's a bit of a tension there, and it's interesting. They're very interesting as characters go, and the way their army performs and the way their legion fights. So the Raven Guard, meanwhile, are focused. So in the Heresy, the Raven Guard are focused on punishing the traitors as much as they can in their weakened state. They're not about the Space Wolves, for instance, who are trying to make these big last stands and these big show of force. The Raven Guard, if it's not going to be advantageous to them and they're not going to do as much damage with as little attrition as possible, they're going to get the hell out of there. And it's a style of warfare they're wonderfully suited to. And it's cool to see them still make this quite big impact on the Heresy, even after they get decimated on Isstvan 5. And I guess that comes down to Corax's survival as well. So he is the one Primarch due to his sneakiness, which makes it off Isstvan both alive and not captured. And his continued battle against the traitors makes him quite unique in that loyalist sense for those legions that took it on Isstvan, because the Raven Guard get away with a good, let's say, 4,000 or so legionaries. And then there's a bit of, I'll get into in a minute about, they build that up. And they're still quite a cohesive fighting force. They join together, they bring all their disparate units all over the place into one force, and then fight this guerrilla warfare across lots of different systems in a way that's quite meaningful, more so than, say, the Salamanders or the Iron Hands. Corax himself and the Raven Guard have this interesting narrative during the Heresy around messing with their gene seed. That turned out, it's a long story, but there was a bit of extra gene stock hanging out on Terra, so they go and grab it. Whether they had permission to or not, I'm not entirely sure, but Corax messes around with this new, more pure gene stock that he's got from Terra and a sped up marine development process to try and rebuild his legion, which originally went pretty well until some undercover Alpha Legion operatives got involved and they contaminated it with this demonic tainted virus. It all went pretty downhill pretty fast. So what happened then was the creation of what they called the Roughs, which were the Raptors, or at least the mutated Raptors. And it's these bunch of Space Marines which are mutated and not possessed. Possessed is different, right? But they're mutated by this chaos-tainted gene seed, and they degenerate into these unthinking monsters over time. But due to the necessity and the desperation of the Heresy, Corax still puts them into battle and still uses them. And it's this big flaw and this big tension between, is what he's doing right? Is it okay to be using these chaos-tainted Marines against this war on chaos? Is it undermining his own ethical high point, or what's the word I'm looking for there? His moral superiority, there we go, is undermined by these use of these tainted Marines, but he kind of has to, right? Because it's all he's got left. Really cool stuff going on during the Heresy. I can't wait to see some models for these Raptors, the Roughs more so than the Smooths, which hopefully we don't have to wait too long for. We didn't get them in the first edition, but I'm hoping in the second edition we get some cool looking demonic tainted Raven Guard. So lots going on, really fun legion, super stealthy, and that comes through in their rules. So let's get on to them. Now, we've only got one of the three main rule sets for the Raven Guard today. That is the Talons rule. If you're looking for the rules for the Hawks and the Falcons, take a look at my cheeky leaks video that I put up a couple of days ago as I go in depth into them, at least reading them out. Not much analysis, you'll get that later. But the rule that we've got today on the Warhammer Community article is for the Talons. And it reads, if a unit composed entirely of models with the Talons special rule is targeted by a shooting attack, all models in the unit gain the Shrouded 6+ special rule if the attacking unit is more than 8 inches from any model in the target unit. In addition, all models with this special rule also gain Infiltrate special rule. Great. How many times can we say special rule in a sentence? So they gain Infiltrate. Amazing. Lots going on here. So firstly, the units in your army that are getting that Talons special rule is pretty much your basic infantry. So think your tactical squads, think your tactical support squads. I imagine your more infiltrating unit. So you think a basic marine essentially. That's who's getting Talons. Lots of various units that are going to pick this one up. Now, this is pretty great. So the Shrouded rule is okay. So Shrouded 6+, it's better than nothing. So it's a 6. For those that don't know, it's a 6+ shrug on the back end of the whole to wound process. So you take your armor saves, and those that fail armor saves get this Shrouded special rule. Now I'm pretty sure you can take Shrouded against instant death attacks, which is nice. So it's a pretty great shrug, and it's slightly better than Feel No Pain in that sense, but Feel No Pain has other benefits which I won't go into now. But look, Shrouded's good. It's always useful. There's never a time you're not going to want to shrug, so that's nice. There are better versions of Shrouded through reactions and the Raven Guard Advanced reaction that we'll see in a minute, but you only get to do 1 or 2 really of those reactions a turn, and Shrouded is across all of your units. You're not using one of your very, very precious reaction points to do it, so all your basic infantry are getting this Shrouded 6+ shrug all the time, as long as the shooting attack is more than 8 inches away, which is going to be pretty common. It's I don't want to say rarely, but most of the time, if you're getting shot at, it's because the enemy is going to be more than 8 inches away. If they're closer than that, they're probably following up with the charge, and the shooting weapons they've got aren't that impactful, usually, unless it's a cheeky support squad getting in nice and close. So it's good. But the Infiltrate piece to this rule, the fact that all these models gain Infiltrate, is just amazing. It's so nice. It is super useful for outmaneuvering your opponent before the game even begins. It's super useful for getting a significant head start for missions involving objectives, and it's super useful against shooting armies where you can close them down early with some basic line infantry that you've chucked this on, and they're now getting real close to do some early assaults. So really nice rule, and that's just one of 3, right? Having 3 separate rules to boost each time of unit in your Raven Guard army is really powerful, and will make for a lot of great options for army building and on the tabletop. While they may not be the most powerful rules individually, they certainly make for great balanced armies where almost every unit gets a bonus. So I really like it. I really like the whole Talons, Hawks, Falcons thing, and the rules themselves for each of those types is pretty good. All right, the next rule we saw today was the Raven Guard Advanced Reaction, and that reads, this advanced reaction may be made once per battle during the opposing player's shooting phase when an enemy player declares a shooting attack, blah blah blah, so when an enemy unit shoots at you. Before resolving the shooting attack, the unit targeted by the shooting attack may make an immediate move of a number of inches equal to the highest unmodified initiative characteristic, usually going to be 4, could maybe 5, in any direction, and gains the Shrouded 4+ special rule for the remainder of the turn. My goodness. If the shooting attack is no longer valid, this is the sweet part, due to the enemy unit no longer having line of sight to the target, for example, then the active player may not select a different target, and no attacks are made or dice rolled for that unit. Lots going on here. Firstly, just to get this out of the way, Shrouded 4+ is fantastic. So the generic reaction is Shrouded 5+, which is pretty good. Shrouded 4+ means you are just ignoring 50% of the damage coming your way after armor saves, which is fantastic. Love that. All right, can't be unhappy at that. Being able to move in your opponent's turn is also really good. So usually it's going to be 4 inches, your initiative characteristic. Oh, hang on, to the highest unmodified initiative characteristic. Okay, if you've got a character in there, suddenly that's jumping up, right? So it won't infrequently be 5, I guess. And furthermore, if you've got Korax in a unit, yeah, it's going up further. So that's really cool. I thought it was lowest unmodified initiative, which I think it is in other rules that we've seen. But that's really nice. So you're going to be doing some pretty serious moving in your opponent's turn. And that's really nice. You could use it potentially to get into cover if you need to. You could move it onto objectives as well to contest objectives or to move onto them yourself to get points for them. I'm not sure how the points work and when you score them, but playing the objective game, I should say, while being shot at is kind of nice. But the big one here is being able to move outside of your opponent's line of sight and just wasting their entire shooting for that unit. Really nice. It's going to have a really big impact of the game. Let's say the unit's got one particular unit. It's a whole bunch. It's a 10 strong heavy support squad, and they're all armed with missile launchers. Now that squad costs hundreds of points, right? And this is quite common in Horus Heresy. People often throw a lot of their eggs into one basket. And being able to just ignore that entire unit's shooting for a turn, super good. Super good. So, look, I think this advanced reaction is probably one of the better ones we've seen. You will see an even cooler version of it tomorrow, but we're about the Raven Guard today. We're about the Raven Guard, so let's keep that focused. The move's good. The Shroud of 4+ is excellent. I think this advanced reaction is hot stuff. And that brings us to the end of our Heresy chats for today. Thank you so much for watching. Overall, I think the Raven Guard rule's pretty good, both from a power perspective, from a narrative perspective, and from the flexibility they encourage in the units you select for your army. Let me know what you think about the rules of the 19th Legion in the comments below. Make sure to keep rolling those dice and getting hyped for Heresy.